As Sony and Microsoft look towards a future filled with photorealistic characters on 4 and 8K televisions, I'm glad the developer Kudo is going in the other direction. Their new game Grizzland isn't interested in showing off millions of colors or gorgeously textured polygonal graphics because it's a black and white platformer that looks like it originated 40 years ago on the Atari 2600. But looks can be deceiving, and Grizzland proves to not only be a fun new spin on the Metroidvania formula, but also one of the best hidden surprises of the summer. Our adventure begins when a couple of strange dinosaurs dig up a tree in the middle of the night. With very little information to go on, our nameless hero warps onto the grizzled old planet with little more than a sword and a crossbow. But in true Metroidvania fashion, things get all screwed up and we find that our hero is helpless on the strange world. I mean, not even able to jump around. The hunt is on to uncover a science fiction story about deforestation and unlock the abilities you'll need to thoroughly explore Grizzland. What you'll quickly discover is the planet is split up into a bunch of vertical stages. The goal of each stage is to investigate the surroundings and find bits of water, which you're going to turn around and dump into a nearby tree. But look, this is no ordinary tree because once you've fully watered it, you'll be shot up to the next stage where you'll find a whole new set of platforming puzzles, harder enemies to fight, and a new set of helpful skills. There are also a couple dozen journal entries scattered around the open world, each of which will flesh out what you're doing there and why there's an army of dinosaurs cutting down trees. If you've played a lot of Metroid and Castlevania games, then many of the skills and abilities are gonna look familiar. We get the usual double jump and a crouch position, as well as a way to warp through certain walls. Some of the abilities will help you fight against a wide variety of bosses, but most are there to help you explore the world of Grizzland. I found myself ignoring a lot of the enemies in an effort to track down all the hidden passages and journal pages. Look, the graphics may be simplistic, but the level designs are complicated and full of secrets to uncover. Now, although the game eventually finds its footing, Grizzland can be a bit confusing at first. It's only after some trial and error that the pieces all start to come together, and by that point I was hooked. This is familiar in a lot of ways, but it also manages to be unique and set itself apart from most of the games in this oversaturated subgenre. It uses its old school graphics to paint a world that both looks and feels completely foreign, giving us a taste of what this kind of side-scrolling adventure game would have been like on some of Atari's earliest consoles. Thankfully, Grizzland doesn't play like an Atari 2600 game. The action is fast and loose, with the different abilities mapped to multiple face buttons. The combat's a lot of fun, especially when you're going up against all of the challenging bosses. For what looks like a simple game, there's actually quite a bit of depth to the gameplay and action. Unfortunately, the same can't be said about the soundtrack. Look, don't get me wrong, I like the music that plays while we're investigating the planet, but there simply isn't enough of it. We basically listen to the same song on repeat throughout every stage, and I'm gonna tell you, that started to get to me after a while. It's worth noting that they do mix things up with boss fights and underwater sections, but this game is in desperate need of more songs. This musical repetition is probably the worst part of my time exploring Grizzland. If you've ever wondered what it would be like to play a Metroidvania game on the Atari 2600, then this is the game for you. Grizzland is a fun and imaginative adventure game full of clever level designs and exciting boss fights. It's a mysterious planet full of secrets, not to mention a compelling science fiction story that's worth sticking around for. It's a bit familiar in places and could definitely use more music, but Grizzland is a delightful surprise that proves that sometimes all you need are 5 colors and a low-res display to make a great game. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite Metroidvania game? Look, it doesn't have to be a Metroid or a Castlevania game. I mean, there are all kinds of different ones to choose from. Personally, I'm partial to Knit Underground, but that's a story for another day. In other news, I'm still doing my best to catch up on a big pile of reviews, all while looking into the near future and thinking about launching a bunch of new shows. I'm excited to unveil all that I have for you, but in the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.